My name is Helen Marie Patton Fielder. I have lived in Las Cruces over 50 years, since 1960. I was 14 when I moved here. We were living on a farm in Alabama, Prattville, Alabama. And my father, he wasn't making any money in farming, so he ended up losing the farm, and he was very depressed over it, and he had gotten kind of mean. And so my mother's sister told her to come out here to New Mexico. There's plenty of jobs. It was not at all with so many people in one house. Of course, you're not going to get along. When she got here, she applied for assistance. She could not even get assistance. And they just said, no, we're not going to give it to you. You just came down here to get assistance. Or you just went ahead and whatever they said, that's what you did. So we had a very hard life here, and we had to go to the onion fields every day to try to make a little money to buy food and stuff. I'm thinking we probably only had maybe one meal a day. And there was a lot of days we went to school hungry. And I would babysit, so I would have maybe just a little money to maybe buy lunch some days at school. They didn't have like free lunches, so a lot of times, I didn't eat lunch. In Alabama, when I left, they were in the process of integrating. So we went to all black school there, and we came here and it was mixed. But I remember the principal told me, if you all want to go to school here, you're going to have to behave yourselves. I remember my mother telling me, you have to finish high school, because my mother didn't finish high school, so you could get a decent job. I was the first one in my family to finish high school, and then I married someone that was from here. When I was married, we was able to buy a house. So that's what I wanted to make sure, that my kids had a home. So then we ended up getting a divorce, and I was divorced with 4 kids. Well, I had to struggle. They really didn't enforce child support that much. It was giving me very little child support. I was at a young age, and my kids' age ranged from 6 to 1. And my mother helped me a lot. She babysat. If it wasn't for her, it would have been very hard. I had to work 2 jobs, and I instilled in my kids, well, you have to go to college so you can get a decent job. And they did not want to be poor. So my kids went to college. I could never get a job in this town unless someone got it for me. When I went at the hospital, the administrator interviewed me, and it was just for like a maid. And he said, I think he hired me because I graduated with his daughter. I had been working at the hospital then for about 5 years, and I wanted to be home with my kids on Christmas, but it seemed like I always had to work. I was able to get a job at the bank through my sister's boyfriend. He was playing basketball at New Mexico State, and the president of that bank, which he also was the president of the Booster Club, he gave the boys that played basketball jobs. When I got a job there, it was in the back filing checks. I stayed there filing checks for 5 years, but let me back up. The president of the bank, he left, and this town had never seen a black person at a bank before, and they did not like it at all. So he fired almost all of them. I was afraid I would get fired if I didn't go to work. So I had to go to work every day, whether I was sick or my kids were sick. My oldest daughter, if my kids were sick, I would keep her home to take care of them. Otherwise, I would be fired. I've had a hard time here in Las Cruces. It's still happened in 2018. Most of the people there, they would work in the back, filing checks for a year, and then they would move up to be a teller. So finally, after maybe 2 or 3 years, I went to management and said, well, I would like to be a teller. well, we'll make you supervisor of the check filing department. So I went and asked again. One of the management said, well, it's not us, it's our customers. They'll get mad at you quicker than they will anyone else. We'll let you be a teller. If you don't make it as a teller, you can't come back to filing checks. And so I worked as a teller for almost everybody would be out of balance, at least $100 or more. But I knew if I was out of balance, I would be fired. So then there was a position that came open. It was a head teller position. They ended up giving it to a white male. He was getting $8 an hour. They said because he had a family. He had been there maybe a year or two, and I've been there 8 years, and I was making like maybe $4.95. I had a family also. And then finally they said, okay, we'll make you branch manager. And now this white male was making, as a teller supervisor, $8. And I was going to be running the branch and getting $6.95. I had already filed with the EEOC once when they didn't give me that job. I was treated so bad, kind of like an outcast. No one talked to me, anything, so I dropped it. So the unemployment was paid for you to go to school. So I went to the community college. I got an associate's degree. It was in business, so it made my self-esteem feel better and that I could do a better job. And I went to this other credit union. I had to go to the EOC to get that job. The city had posted a job in the paper for a cashier, and the only reason I got there, it was the lady that worked in human resources. She was African American, and she put my application up front. They treated me really bad there. They wouldn't speak English when I was around. They only spoke Spanish. And then I had a friend, her sister-in-law worked there, and she said, they were always talking about you. And they would hide my work so it could look like I hadn't did my work. And then they finally said, well, you didn't meet your probation period, so we're going to let you go. And I'm tired of working, I've been working for 50 years, but I still have to keep working because I never made that much. And I was talking to my niece, she said, oh, $6,000 what, a month? I said, no, $6,000 a year. I've been living in my house for 50 years. It has no insulation. Back then, they just built the cinder block houses. So those houses are very cold in the wintertime and very hot in the summertime. So your utility bills goes up. Las Cruces is not black friendly. I believe it discriminates. I don't think they really care that much. The government, yeah, because it's not that many African Americans here. It was only blacks and whites in Alabama. It's more discrimination here than there because you have two races against you. The city council people, they kind of overlook the African American communities. Years ago, when they were having elections in Las Cruces, they were saying, we have two groups of people. We have the Hispanics and the whites. And I thought, see, they don't even regard us at all.